What's going on, y'all? So, this is my first vlog for this 2025 contest prep season. Just to give you a recap and kind of a rundown of what's in store. And before I really get into anything, this video is probably going to be fairly long if you're not used to long form content. That's going to be kind of the theme for this channel, and as unedited and raw as possible. One, because I am not the best and quickest about editing in general. Two, so I can be a little bit more consistent. And three, I want to keep this as pleasant for myself as possible so that it encourages me to continue to record and put content out rather than making it difficult to do, because I like making content. I don't enjoy editing, which I think most people are in that camp. I'm not sure. Let me know. But again, and I want to also thank you if you're watching this and sticking with me throughout this whole journey. It's going to be a long one, and hopefully you'll learn something along the way. I know I've learned a lot, and I continue to learn, even though I've been doing this for about 16 years at this point. So 2025 is the seventh season that I'll be competing. I competed last year as well, and we can talk about that. It was an experimental year to say the least, but this year it's going to be fully dedicated to bodybuilding, and I split some of my time in with Hyrox or competing in the Hyrox last year. Don't recommend it if you want to compete at a high level on either one of those. So, getting back to what I've been up to the last couple of weeks, this is nearly. I started my diet or my prep, I should say, on March 10th this year, and it is June 3rd. So um, almost 3 months, a week shy of. So it's been 11 weeks ish so far, and I've dropped right around 10 pounds. I started at about 163 ish, and I'll show you eventually the spreadsheet of the weights that I started out and where I'm at. And right now, this morning, I weighed in at 154.2. I think my lowest weigh in yet is 153 point, I don't know, 4 or 8 or something like that. So probably I would say, safe to say, around 154 is where my body weight is. So again, yeah, right around 10-ish pounds, 9 pounds uh, dropped in that time frame. So very gradual. It's definitely out of the ordinary from what I'm used to as far as starting off a prep diet. I usually start off really aggressive right out of the gate, and this is much longer. And Coach Jeff is, coaching me this year. So I've never had a coach. This is another first for me as well. So we started working together at the beginning of this year, kind of the end of December or the end of last year. I contacted him, and we set it up basically the end of the year, beginning of the year, off season, and then, or I should say, a very short off season, and then started in March. So yeah, um, as far as the way that the diet is constructed, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, right now I'm at 2250 calories 6 days, one refeed of 3000, and that was the most recent adjustment, which is just 5 days ago. Before that, I had started out on, I want to say, close to 3000 calories. Yes, 3000 calories for the first few weeks, and then dropped down to, I'm sorry, I can't remember, but essentially dropped down to 2500 for 5 days. No, for 6 days, or 2800 for 6 days, and then one refeed a week, and then worked our way down. The most recent one was 2500 for 6 days and one refeed at 3000. So we're at 2250 for 6 days, and the one refeed is sticking at 3000. So I think that's very reasonable considering that in that time frame I've dropped nearly 10 pounds. So, calories are going to have to come down as far as when you're dropping weight. energy expenditure is decreased as well. Steps are staying between 10 to 12,000 per day. And most of that is through, I would say, maybe not most of it, I would say probably half of that, depending on what I'm doing that day, is through formal cardio. So just walking on a treadmill or maybe a little bit of elliptical, and then just my daily routines and things like that. So the weekends, I don't really have to worry about that as much because I usually do um, some yard work, shopping, whatever it is. I'm more out and about, um, so that's where I do less formal cardio. During the week, I usually walk for about 15 minutes on average before my gym, or before my actual training, just to get warmed up, and then I'll walk for between 40 minutes and an hour, depending on what I have planned for that day. Because if I'm just gonna go to the office, which I'm going to be sitting down most of the time. Uh, I just want to knock out as many steps as possible so I don't have to worry about it. Sometimes on the lunch break, I'll do some walking on the treadmill. So that's where I'll split up maybe 30 minutes after the gym and then 30 minutes on my lunch break, and I'll just walk. So that's how that is. As far as actual training itself, I'm on an upper and lower split, 2 lower days, 3 upper days. So my dominant features, which is weird, is well, maybe not weird, but is are my legs. So my quads and my hamstrings are kind of a little bit more overpowering as far as where the eye goes, than my upper body. So we're focusing, and it's not like I'm going to be putting on obviously a ton of mass or anything in the contest prep, but this has been the same way even in the off season. It was the same split. So I feel like I've put on a little bit of size on my chest and my upper back, which have been kind of the main focus to try and fill out this area. Um, so we'll see. I'm excited to see when you know the fat is shredded away, shed, and see if there is any appreciable difference when you can see the contest photos. Uh, but that is how the split has been, and it's not really high volume. It's two working sets, and most of the sets are taken to like I would say between 0 to 2 RIR, so reps in reserve. The only ones that are taken are like open to taken to zero would be the pulling movements. The pressing movements usually stay usually between 1 and 2. I'll go to failure occasionally, but not very frequently. Just trying to protect the shoulders, uh, but they've gotten better over time. Um, and the same thing with the legs. The legs are never really kind of taken directly to failure. Occasionally, I'll do a leg press set that is to failure and something like that. If it's body weight, which recently I've been doing a body weight 2 to 3 sets of a hip extension on the 45-degree back extension piece. I don't even want to call it a machine, but it's just that platform. So body weight exercises I'll take to failure. Not very hard to recover from. The reason I'm doing that right now is because I had a little naggle come up a couple of weeks ago. So I've been just kind of slowly incorporating that back in, and I'll start bringing in some weight as well, um, as it gets better. So knock on wood that it continues to be good from here on out. I had to drop stiff leg deadlifts. I had to I had switched from stiff leg deadlifts. Then I went to trap bar deadlifts. Dropped both of those, and I'm now at the hip extension. And I'll probably switch from the hip extension um, 2 times a week. I'll keep one, and I'll switch over to the hip thrust machine in a few weeks here if everything is still tracking well for that area. So very long-winded. Sorry about that as far as the training goes. I'll keep updating on how that's going, but yeah, the other body parts I train directly are gonna be obviously chest and back, but arms 2 days a week on two of my upper sessions, abs are thrown in here and there, and calves every session with the legs. So that's how that's split up. Um, let's see. As far as like how I'm eating, you can follow me on Instagram. I like to post my meals on my stories so you can see what they consist of, mostly whole foods. Occasionally I'll eat out, but I do try and cook most of my home meals here. It's just easier for me mentally to kind of stay in the zone and focused. I will, like I said, go out to eat, but you know, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks or something like that. Make that happen. Anniversary is coming up, so I'll be going out to eat then. Should be a good time. Looking forward to that meal. Yeah, it's gonna be a restaurant we've never tried. Maybe I'll share it. Maybe we'll see. Um, Sleep. I'm not a big sleeper in general, so yeah, between 6 and 7 hours is usually all I need, and it's been kind of hit or miss. Usually, every time the diet has been adjusted, I kind of settle back in or kind of get out of a rhythm, just because like hunger levels, I figure out when I need to eat and how much I need to eat on the meal timing for bedtime, when calories are reduced, and then after a couple of days, it kind of goes back to normal. So yeah, but yeah, generally around 6.5 hours is my average for sleeping time, and that's enough for me. Sometimes, occasionally, if I'm exhausted, I have a hard training day and a long day at work, then I'll sleep a little bit longer. But excuse me, recovery has been good. I know the only kind of symptoms really from the prep is mostly like bowel stuff. So occasional constipation and occasional frequent urination, which happens from time to time, and then it kind of goes away. Again, that's kind of adjusting salt levels and things like that to get to dial that in. But that's not out of the ordinary for me. Um, I tend to stay on the flatter side, and that's just until I get in, carbs. So kind of flat and watery is usually my look for the most part, which isn't the greatest for check-ins, which is probably why I don't really like taking physique photos in general. But it's just the way it is. Some people look great, kind of no matter what they're doing, which is awesome. But that's not the case for myself, or at least my self-consciousness self, I should say. Um, Water, drink until I, you know, can see clear-ish color in the bowl, and try and cut fluids off a little bit early so I'm not waking up at night a bunch. And let's see, outside of that, um, personal life, usually pretty chill. I don't go out much, don't really do much in general, even when I'm not in prep. So prep life suits me because I'm tend to be a little bit more introverted and not as social as a lot of other people. But it's good to get out there and you know socialize and do all of those things. So I try and force myself to do those things, but it's not always the easiest. Um, just because, like I said, even in non prep, those not really like high on my priority list. I would rather kind of read at home or do things around the house, write or something like that. So yeah, that's or watch a movie with my wife, hang out with my wife, and do those things. So yeah, that's been a long rundown of how things are going right now overall. And again, this is a vlog series. I am going to commit to doing every 2 weeks. Might be longer than that in some stretches, but at the minimum, I'm going to put something out every 2 weeks. So this will probably be 2 weeks on a delay. So, like I said, I'm filming this June 3rd, and I'll probably release this on whatever that's the 10th. So, sometime in June 17th ish, 20th, sometime in that time frame. And then it'll be from 2 weeks, everything from then on. And I'm hoping to throw on some physique updates uh, throughout the video. Uh, Not really much to update right now. Like I said, it's kind of just starting. Even though I am maybe like 10 pounds away from stage weight, like I said, I'm 153. I usually get on stage kind of like in that 148 ish, 147 range. So I diet down to like 143, usually in that ballpark. So still 10 pounds away. And again, for most competitors, that no, For most people, that doesn't seem like a lot, but for competitors, when you're 10 pounds off of actual true stage weight, this is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. It's where you like each pound that goes away, you really see the differences in the physique, at least in my experience and in my opinion. So we'll go from there. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.